All right, now we're going to do a little bit more with 13.4 and mortgages, talk a little bit more about your monthly payment because and the costs, the closing costs that you have to pay um, at the beginning when you go to take out your mortgage. All right, so these can be very significant one-time expenses right there at the start when you're trying to get your loan. And this goes for both fixed rate and adjustable rate mortgages. And they're paid when the mortgage is like originally set up. You go in, people will say they're going in to the closing, and you go in there and you meet with the buyers and the lawyers, and you have to sign all these documents. Okay. So all these costs that you pay right there when the mortgage is originally set up, they're called closing costs. Okay. So we just want to look at example of what they can be. Okay. So a lot of times we're concerned about what our mortgage payment is going to be and whether we could afford that, but we forget sometimes that we have to also come up with a chunk of money at the start to be able to pay the closing fees. Okay. So here's an example. Here's a $85,000 mortgage, and then the borrower was charged the following closing costs, and we're supposed to compute the total closing costs for this mortgage. So this mortgage, there was a 1% loan origination fee. We'll talk about it down here in a minute, that a loan origination fee is sometimes referred to as points, and it's just a way for them to get interest up front. Okay. So it doesn't raise the monthly payment because you're paying interest ahead of time before you've even, right at the start of your loan. So if the loan origination fee is 1% of the mortgage, you're going to take 85,000 times 1%, and that's going to turn out to be $850. So you're going to owe that. And then there's various fees, and these can vary. So the broker might charge a loan fee, and then lender document and underwriting fees, tax and wire fees. And then they do a title search to make sure there's nobody else that has a claim to the property. And then title insurance fee in case they find that somebody has a claim to the property. There might be a little somebody. Anyway, you got the title insurance fee as backup, and then this title reconveyance fee of $70 and a document recording fee. Okay, so for them taking it and getting it to the courthouse, etc. So what we need to do is just now add all this stuff up, and we wind up with this amount, the closing costs. And really, I guess they're not called closing costs because they didn't use it, but I just want to make a note that the real expense is you also pay the down payment at closing. Normally you make some kind of a down payment. So like you might make a 20% down payment to try to avoid having to pay insurance, or you might pay 10%. They'll usually expect some kind of a down payment. And so like on this, if it's an $85,000 mortgage, 10% of that would be $8,500 that you'd have to come up with right at the start. Of course, that would mean that you owe less, that your mortgage would be for less. And so that would have been, when they say it's an $85,000 mortgage, that means that's what your loan amount is. But like if you were buying a house, you typically put a certain amount down at the start and you would pay that at closing. And then your mortgage amount that's left might be the $85,000, but you might have already paid 10 or 20% of the cost of the house ahead of time. All right. Anyway, these points. Loan origination fees are commonly referred to as points, and each point amounts to 1% of the mortgage. And they do this because it's a way they can raise the interest rate without it raising your monthly payments. okay, because you pay them ahead of time. Sometimes it's to your advantage. Sometimes as a buyer, you want to try to pay points ahead of time. All right, the primary financial considerations for most new homeowners are getting up enough money for the down payment, then making sure you have cash and income that allows you to qualify for the loan, and then being able to pay the mortgage payment. Okay, what we sometimes forget about is there can be these recurring costs. Like the following. Okay, there'll be taxes that you're going to owe. Taxes are collected by the county, local government, city, like we pay city taxes and county taxes, and property taxes and mortgage interest are deducted on your income taxes. Okay, so these property taxes you're paying and also the interest you pay on your mortgage do wind up being deductible when you're paying your income taxes. Right? Another recurring cost would be the cost of insurance. Like you'll have to have an insurance policy on your home. And it can be significant. And you do that to cover the loss due to fire or storm damages. And you're usually required to have this insurance by the mortgage lender. They want to be sure that because you're putting your house down as collateral for your loan. So they want you to have insurance on your house in case anything happens to it, so they can get their money back if something were to happen to your house. And then another recurring cost is the maintenance cost. There's a lot of stuff you have to do to keep your home up. But they vary greatly. Taxes and insurance are relatively regular, but the maintenance costs can vary quite a bit. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this problem. Let me move it to the next page. So here's a couple who has a 25-year, $175,000 fixed rate loan at 7%. And then they owe $2,800 in annual taxes, and they pay $750 annually for their homeowner's insurance. And we want to find out what is their net average monthly expenditure. Okay, so what do they really pay in a month? So it's more than just the monthly mortgage payment. On top of that, we have to think about that insurance and those taxes that you typically pay. Like we pay it we don't pay the insurance to the mortgage place, but sometimes this is all wrapped into the amount you give to your mortgage lender. And then they distribute the money and they pay the taxes and the insurance for you. All right, so to get the monthly payment, we're going to do like we did earlier. We're going to check the term of the loan and the interest rate. And if it contains numbers that can be found in the table, we're going to use that. Okay, so I'm going back to that table. And this one was 7% for 25 years. So I'm going to go to 7 and 25, and there it is. Okay, if it weren't something that I could use the table for, then I would go to this formula right here. All right, so I'm able to use the table to get the monthly mortgage payment. All right, we're back to this. So that the factor that we got out of the table was the 7.06779. All right, and our loan is $175,000. So it's 175 thousands. So this is how much you pay for 1,000. So we're going to multiply by 175, and that tells us the monthly mortgage payment would be this. Okay. But then we're going to work on the taxes and the insurance. See what we do about that. So on top of that payment that contains both the interest and the principal, okay, we sometimes wrap up in our monthly payment for a house. We also wrap into that all the taxes and insurance for it. So let's think about that. The taxes were $2,800 a year. The insurance, it's not writing. Let me try again. Okay. The taxes were $2,800. And then the insurance was $750. And those are both annual. So I'm going to add those up, and that's going to be $3,550 a year that I owe for taxes and insurance. Well, I'm trying to get my net average monthly expenditure. So I'm going to take that $33,550 and I'm going to divide it by 12. And it turns out to be about, probably rounded, about $295.83 per month. Okay. So take that mortgage payment and add to it the taxes and the portion of the taxes and insurance you'll pay each month. And that gives you what your net average monthly expenditure would be. So $1,532.69. So that's your monthly mortgage payment plus the taxes and insurance. So this would be the answer to that. And I think it's just good to remember, when you're budgeting for your first home, to realize that it's more than just whether you can come up with $1,236.86 a month. You also will have to pay taxes and insurance. So you want to be sure you have the money for that as well.